Deepthi, I may need your help. Oh, it's good actually, don't worry. Alright, can I have that, yes, that would be very nice. Perfect. And then, from here, we'll do our prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Stapitang Yena Bhutale Svayang Rupa Kadamayang Dadati Swapadantikang Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavang Shri Rupang Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutam Parijana Sahitang Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitang He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, I want to first of all offer my humblest of obeisances unto my gurus and spiritual teachers about Diksha and Shiksha. In my life, without their mercy, I would have literally nothing at all to offer, and it's only by their great mercy, as an extension of the Lord's mercy, that I have made some spiritual progress in this life, and I'm eternally grateful for them. And even if I can't properly express my gratitude, I have a desire to one day be able to express my gratitude. Next, I'd like to offer my obeisances unto all of the Gaudiya Guru Varga from which this knowledge has passed down from Guru to disciple in the unbroken link of Bhagavat Parampara, coming from the Supreme Lord Himself. Every time, even if the knowledge gets lost in this world, the Lord Himself will personally come to re-establish the proper course of action for us conditioned souls in this world. And last, I want to offer my obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, past, present, and future, and especially the Vaishnavas present with us here today, Craig, Parth, and Deepthi, and then hopefully Arjun and Divyanshu will also come, but Tanu is sick. My wife is listening, I think, online.
Your wife what?
Is listening online. Abhiram is feeding, so she has an excuse. So, my obeisances to you all. Before we begin with Bhagavatam, we just sang a nice bhajan. And actually, we've added this to the Bhagavatam program, Craig, because by singing the bhajans of our acharyas, you're actually entering into their kirtans and their realizations. And even if you don't have any bhakti yourself, which I hope it's not a newsflash for us, but we don't really have much bhakti at all. And from that place, by reciting their eternal kirtans, they're giving us their bhakti. So we, it's very good to at least every day do some little bhajan for them. So this one was called Nitai Gunamani, and it's specifically about the glories of Nityananda Prabhu. And it says, Nitai Gunamani, he's a jewel of virtues. Amar Nitai Gunamani, my Nitai is a jewel of virtues. Aniya Premera Banya Basayilo Avani. He has inundated the entire world with a flood of divine love or prem. Premer Banya Loya Nitai. Nitai has come to the land of Goda, Bengal, or Ailo Goda Desha. He's come to the land of Goda, bringing that flood of prem. He's flooding the world with this love for God. Dubilo Bakata Gana Dina Hina Base. The devotees are submerged in it, but the wretched and lowly remain floating. So there are some who are who don't get flooded by the by this ocean of prem, which is being shared by Nityananda Prabhu through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Dina Hina Patita Pamara Nahi Bache. He does not discriminate against the Dina and Hina, the wretched and lowly, and Patita, which is fallen, and sinful, Pamara. He Brahmara Durlabha Prema Sabha Kare Jacha. He freely offers to everyone that prem that is so rare that it's difficult for even Lord Brahma to attain. So actually what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu is giving is so rare that even the greatest demigod like Lord Brahma, it's very difficult to come across this. Lord Brahma actually he takes birth as Haridas Thakur, so he can actually experience this. It's very difficult to attain this, and they're just giving it so freely. Abadha Karuna Sindhu Katiya Muhan. By cutting the channel in the dam holding the unlimited ocean of mercy. Gare Gare Bule Prema Amiyaraban. Nitai has caused a flood of nectarian prem to surge in each and every house. And if you understand this, what Nityananda did is he would go all over the country, and he would spread this Harinam Sankirtan, and he would organize Namahata groups. Okay, you're in here, you in your town, no problem. Stay exactly where you are, and Bhaja Krishna, worship Krishna, Bolo Krishna, chant his names, and Kora Krishna Shiksha. Live a life by his instructions. And he would go and engage people in this, and all over the country and world. And him and his disciples would, have ecstatic kirtans and perform miracles and do amazing things, and just so freely giving this to everybody. And we're still actually, this is a result. What's happening here in Syracuse, as small and humble as it is. Lochana Bole, Lochan Das says, Mora Nitai Jeba Na Bajilo. Janiya Shuniya say Atma Gati Hailu. Whoever has not worshipped my Nitai knowingly commits suicide. So, for those who cannot appreciate the glories of Nityananda Prabhu, for those who can't even appreciate the glories of how Nityananda Prabhu's mercy has come to them via this Namahata, in actually, all gurus are representations of Nityananda Shakti. So without, the divine appearance of Nityananda Shakti in the form of Srila Prabhupada to the West, we never would have access to this thing. So this is, we should always worship Nityananda Prabhu, and the way we worship Nityananda Prabhu's mercy in our life is we see it through Guru. This is how you understand, this is how Nityananda Prabhu is coming to me. So, he's here also on the altar. We have, he came on his birthday this year. It's very special. These installed wonderful deities have come here on Nityananda's birthday this year. And no one planned it that way. That's the crazy part. No one planned. It just happened to be a Friday, and the mother who wanted to bestow the deities, but she didn't. I don't think she even knew. Like, oh yeah, this would be. But everything worked out perfectly. He came. Krishna's came. Nityananda's plan on his birthday. I'll appear. So it's very, very nice. So anyhow, this is one of the things that we do. What we really should do is we should chant bhajans of our acharyas every day, and we should chant bhajans to the Vaishnavas, bhajans to the Guru, bhajans to even great associates, our Param Guru in the past, and then bhajans to Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya, and then Radha and Krishna. And you should go in that order, because it's by the one below's mercy you get to the next tier. But because we only have so much time in the day and everyone is quite busy, including myself, we chant one bhajan a day, and we're going in that order. So, but it's recommended to chant all those types of bhajans every day. to really get that mercy. But we'll start with something, and then we'll see what happens in our life. So that's what I'm just sharing, this small thing, and every day we'll just share like a little something from a bhajan of our acharyas. So that's from Lochan Das Thakur, great associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I recorded many confidential pastimes, so it's very, very good. Adding some grapes to the offering part. Okay, good. So very good. All right, so let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. We ended yesterday, or Thursday, sorry. All the great sages who were assembled there also praised the decision of Maharaj Parikshit, and they expressed their approval by saying, "Very good. Naturally the sages are inclined to do good to common men, for they have all the qualitative powers of the Supreme Lord. Therefore they were very much pleased to see Maharaj Parikshit, a devotee of the Lord, and they spoke as follows." We should understand, when we do austerities, like Maharaj Parikshit, he decided he would fast until death. When we do austerities for the purpose and pleasure of satisfying the Lord, when we undergo difficulty for the purpose and pleasure of satisfying the Lord, this pleases the saints and the sages. They say, just see, look at the sincerity of this person. And this is how they bless us. When they see that we're willing, like when Srila Prabhupada, when he saw all of the difficult circumstances his disciples would go through, they're out on the streets late all night, they're in parking lots, they're in airports, they're just trying to do anything to get people involved, and all of the facilities that they had, they're putting in, so they're creating rock concerts and opening temples and going places with no money and just trusting Krishna, and everything works out. When the saints and sages see the austerities and the difficulties, the tapas that the devotees go through in order to try to please Guru and Krishna, this very much pleases the sages. This pleases all great souls. So we should understand, if there's anything that we should do in our life, we should take on difficulty for Krishna. And this will please the great personalities. So then the sages, they said this verse. Navaidang Raja Shivaya Chitrang Bhavatsu Krishnang Samanuvrateshu. Parts, just before we finish this, can you just check on Arjuna? And even Divyanshu, because Divyanshu was up too. Ye dhyasanang raja kirita jushtang Sadyo Jahor Bhagavat Parshvakamaha. Na, neither. Va, like this. Idam, this. Rajarshi, saintly king. Varya, the chief. Chitram, astonishing. Bhavatsu, unto all of you. Krishnam, Lord Krishna. Samanuvrateshu, unto those who are strictly in the line of. Yea, who, Adhyasanam, seated on the throne. Rajakirita, helmets of kings. That must be my mother or something, right? Is that what you see on there? Jushtam, decorated. Sadhya, immediately. Jahu, gave up. Bhagavat, the personality of Godhead. Parshvakamaha, desiring to achieve association. He is coming?
Divyanshu will be coming very shortly, and then Arjuna will go and get ready.
Oh my gosh. So anyhow, the sages said, O chief of all the saintly kings of the Pandu dynasty, who are strictly in the line of Lord Sri Krishna, it is not at all astonishing that you give up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many kings, to achieve eternal association with the personality of Godhead. Purport. Foolish politicians who hold political administrative posts think that the temporary posts they occupy are the highest material gain of life, and therefore they stick to those posts even up to the last moment of life, without knowing that achievement of liberation as one of the associates of the Lord in his eternal abode is the highest gain of life. The human life is meant for achieving this end. The Lord has assured us in the Bhagavad Gita many times that going back to Godhead, His eternal abode is the highest achievement. Prahlad Maharaj, while praying to Lord Nrsinga, said, "O my Lord, I am very much afraid of the materialistic way of life, and I am not the least afraid of your present ghastly, ferocious feature as Nrsingadev. This materialistic way of life is something like a grinding stone, and we are being crushed by it. We have fallen into this horrible whirlpool of the tossing waves of life, and thus, my Lord, I pray at your lotus feet to call me back to your eternal abode as one of your servitors. This is the summit of liberation of this materialistic way of life. I have very bitter experience of the materialistic way of life. In whichever species of life I have taken birth, compelled by the force of my own activities, I have very painfully experienced two things, namely separation from my beloved and meeting with what is not wanted." This is what you get in the material world. You're separated from the things you like, and then you meet with things that you don't want to. And to counteract them, the remedies which I undertook were more dangerous than the disease itself. So I drift from one point to another, birth after birth, and I pray to you, therefore, to give me a shelter at your lotus feet. This is what karma is. We get separated from things that we want, and we meet it with a bunch of things that we don't want. And then we try to counteract it all. And we say, oh my God, I don't want this, so let me take this action to counteract what I don't want. But the actions that you take, you're going to get yourself in more trouble than just accepting what you didn't want. And then you get implicated in more and more nonsense and more, and everything bewilders you, and you just look at your life after some time, just like, I hate this, I hate all of this.
Slippery slope.
And it just starts one thing, and it just keeps snowballing, and it doesn't get better. So this is what karma is. And Prahlad says, I don't care about your ferocious features in Nrsingadev. I'm not scared of that. I look forward to this. But this karma, this world and all of its implications, I'm very fearful. Very fearful of this. So he's saying, so I drift from one point to another, birth after birth, and I pray to you, therefore, to give me a shelter at your lotus feet. This is what we're doing, birth after birth. We're doing the same thing over and over again, and getting implicated in more and more karma and more in activities, and we think, oh, this is what I want, and then you finally get what you want, and it's a whole bag of messes you didn't expect. And then I don't want this, I don't want this. So you take some remedy to try to get rid of the situation you don't want, but the remedy you think you're taking, like, all right, well, let's say you don't like your job, and next thing you know, oh, I hate this job, I have to get a new one. You take all kinds of remedies to get a new job, and then you get in your new job, and it sucks even worse. And you're like, oh my God, what did I do? I actually really liked that this was nothing compared to that. So this is constantly what's happening in this material world.
The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. And it's so painful that the Lord has to arrange that we forget everything that happened in the previous, because it's just so painful if we remembered everything we've done life after life. But look in this life how painful it's been. Just see. We have some years on us now. Everyone is at least almost 30 years old here and more. And Craig, you've doubled that and more, in this life. Just see. Is this not true? This is not, ring true every step of life. But we don't fear these things at all. We want to get implicated in them. Oh, yes, I know. I'll do a material remedy. I have a material problem, I'll have a material solution. No, there is no solution. You're undertaking something more dangerous than the disease itself. So stop implicating. If you really want shelter from this, the burning fire of this life, take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord's devotee, his representative. This will save you. Everything else is just, every thought of a solution that you're coming up with in life is just worse than, it's going to be worse than what it is currently. Don't try to make all these solutions. There is no material solution to this. It's all going to just get worse. But if you take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, then everything will become auspicious. How do you do that? Sankirtan. Take to the Sankirtan process. This is what the Lord is giving for this age. How can you overcome this? So the Pandava kings, who are more than many saints of the world, knew the bitter results of the materialistic way of life. They were never captivated by the glare of the imperial throne they occupied, and they sought always the opportunity of being called the Lord to associate with him eternally. Maharaj Parikshit was the worthy grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Yudhishthir gave up the imperial throne to his grandson. And similarly, Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthir, gave up the imperial throne to his son Janmejai. That is the way of all the kings in the dynasty, because they are all strictly in the line of Lord Krishna. Thus the devotees of the Lord are never enchanted by the glare of materialistic life, and they live impartially, unattached to the objects of the false, illusory, materialistic way of life. So Prabhupada's comparing this to just look at the politicians, all countries, all over the world, in Congress and things. I think, someone like Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or, Mitch McConnell and on all sides, they just hold on to this position. How long can you hold this position? How much does your body have to approach the grave before you just give up this position and retire?
So attached to that position that they willing to lie and cheat and steal and everything else to try to hold on to that.
Yes, and it just becomes more and more pathetic for them as they try in their aging bodies. Even like someone like Hugh Hefner, he was some playboy guy, and when he was young and he had money and all the young girls are approaching him, it probably, it was very enjoyable for him. But then as he gets older and older and tries to maintain all that, it just gets more and more disturbing as you watch, But, now you even see, actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, where when he's a young guy and he's dating all these young women and, and so on, it looks kind of normal. But now he's like in his 50s, and still all these young women, and just getting creepier and creepier. But this is, this is the disease of material ignorance. We're just trying. We're not seeing what's happening. He cannot be happy, or he wouldn't keep doing this. He's never going to be satiated. These 80, 90-year-old billionaires still, trying to enjoy with young women, and it's like, it's a crazy thing. They have no idea, it's just never going to work. Your enjoyment it's going to get less and less and less, and you're never going to get enjoyment this way. But, and then they create so many problems, for themselves, more and more and more and more, and who knows. It will not end. Their life will end, and then they'll want all these things again, and then the Lord will arrange that their karma is they can come back and try to keep going. And like you said, like an insane person doing the same thing over and over and over again. But the devotee kings, or even maybe not necessarily a devotee, but someone who's trained with the finer discrimination of what life is, they'll know that this is not what to do. They'll know the temporality of all these things. They'll know, all right, there's phases of life, there's ashrams, there's dharma that one should perform. Okay, I've reached a certain phase of life. Holding on to these things that were more appropriate in my youth, it's just not relevant for me anymore. Let me gradually detach from these things. Let me fully detach from these things. That's more, I'd say, appropriate for your phase of life now, Craig, where you're the things that in your youth you had to, responsibilities you took, for maintaining certain material things in life. Now it's, okay, time to gradually release it, step by step. And for us, we're getting implicated more on the other side, where we're taking more responsibility for society. We're taking more responsibility for the general population, to care and nourish for the people of this world. No problem. But at some point, we'll also have to, let the youth, that's their Abhiram and his crew, and and younger, let them take over. It has to be done. But anyway,
even at my age, though, seems I'm still being forced to do a lot of those things. I think it's because of America, Western world, and Kali Yuga and stuff.
Yes.
Like that. It's tough to just let things go.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's still duty in front of me that to have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see what you can pass on,
Well, I'm trying.
Yeah. See what you can delegate to the youth. You have Madhav and other sons, and but then yeah, the main thing is just like engage more deeply in spiritual activities. And this really the time in your life, and as you attach very deeply. I was telling Madhav this yesterday, because we can get in the idea of actually what Prahlad explained, thinking that, oh well, I have some material problems, so I know I have a material solution for this, and we start engaging in karma to try to get the fruits of the solution that we're looking for. But it's more dangerous in the in the first place. But I was telling him, yeah, but if you practice pure bhakti without any tinge of karma, without any tinge of jnana or trying to get mystic abilities, you will not only you'll please Krishna, and Krishna will be so attracted by the bhakti that you're rendering that he will remove all obstacles for you so that you can keep continuing to practice bhakti. So the secret is simply that. Try to practice pure bhakti.
Well, it's like what you said about, you got caught up in the money thing there.
That's
for a
right.
while.
That's right.
And then finally said, the heck with it, but Krishna's still maintaining.
Yes. Yeah, that's, I got caught up earlier this year trying to, I saw a need for my family life. My wife was getting increasingly disturbed. We're a little cooped up in the basement. The baby's getting older. He's crawling all over the place. It's not an ideal thing. And she's right. Earlier this year, I tried to make so many monetary investments and moves and things like that to try and, get another property that's there to, somehow fix it up and make that a livable place. And everything I did failed. And I just created way more problems than I had in the first place. If I would have just left everything alone, I would be materially situated so much better off than I was if I hadn't done it. I learned this firsthand. But what ended up happening is when I said, the hell with this, and I went to India and I said, all right, we're struggling materially, but I'm especially struggling spiritually because I got implicated in things that I didn't want to be getting implicated in. But then after a spiritual kind of rejuvenation, interestingly enough, one of the people I met with has a facility that's providing all those things that my wife was looking for in the first place, and now wants to, but the caveat is like, no, this should be a place where we can invite more people. It should be another preaching center, preaching activity, and then that's the project we're now working on. And so, but just see, that I would have never even considered that, even if I didn't lose everything, which was practically what happened. If I didn't lose everything, I never even would have considered even reaching out to this personality or hearing about this opportunity. But Krishna has a funny way of teaching us many lessons in the process, and at the same time, doing what's best for us. So I see now why Krishna made everything happen the way it happened. But, okay, Divyanshi, Hare Krishna. Good. The ashram is awakening. So, yeah, that's exactly what happened to me earlier this year. I learned this very much firsthand. But we all have to, we all have to learn this thing. And if we don't, learn it, then we'll keep implicating ourselves, and then we'll make worse problems for ourselves than we're even there in the first place. That's that's how this material world works. All the counteracting and the plans that we're making to try and counteract our problems here, it's just going to make everything worse. Stop doing this.
Or at least it's not going to make things better.
Yeah. But even he's saying, the remedies I undertook were more dangerous than the disease itself. That's implying it's going to get worse if we do all these things. Try to get material solutions. Oh, I have this problem and I need some material remedy for it. That material, what you have to do the remedy to get that material thing, it's going to be more dangerous than the problem you're facing.
Well, it's like a lot of the drugs that they advertise,
on
television. What they say it's for is very straightforward and simple.
Yes.
And then, oh, by the way, it can cause this, it can cause
Yes,
this,
yes.
it can cause this.
That's a perfect example. Just it's
like, do I really want to take that?
yes. You take some pharmaceutical drug, and it says yes, you'll solve this one symptom that's happening for your one little disease that you have. But side effect is you'll get maybe this disease or maybe this disease, and you'll get something much worse than you would have had if you would have just dealt with that one little symptom a different way. But the main thing is there is no way of stopping it other than taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord's devotees. This is this is a very good example. So did we read the next verse or no?
No.
No, so we got to keep going. Sarve vayang tavadi hasmahetha kalevarang yavadaso vihaya lokang parang vidajaskang vishokang yasyatyayang bhagavata pradanaha. Sarve, all, vayam, of us, tavat, as long as, iha, at this place, asmahe, shall stay, atha, hereafter, kalevaram, the body, yavat, so long, aso, the king, vihaya, giving up, lokam, the planet, param, the supreme, virajaskam, completely free from mundane contamination, vishokam, completely freed from all kinds of lamentation. Yasyati, returns, I am this. Bhagavata, devotee, pradanaha, the foremost. Translation, the sages are saying, we shall all wait here until the foremost devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, returns to the supreme planet, which is completely free from all mundane contamination and all kinds of lamentation. Purport. Beyond the limitation of the material creation, which is compared to the cloud in the sky, there is the Paravyom, or the spiritual sky, full of planets called Vaikunthas. Such Vaikuntha planets are also differently known as Purushottama Shloka, Achyutaloka, Trivikrama-loka, Rishikesha-loka, Keshava-loka, Aniruddha-loka, Madhava-loka, Pradyumna-loka, Sankarsana-loka. These are all different expansions of Vishnu who rule in different unique ways in different Vaikuntha planets. Sridhar Loka, Vasudev Loka, Ayodhya Loka, Dwarka Loka, and many other millions of spiritual lokas wherein the personality of Godhead predominates. You may wonder why. Why does the Lord have so many different planets, and why does he expand himself in each planet and let different devotees worship him in different ways? Is that question may arise? The answer is because there are so many varieties of living entities in the world who have a unique relationship with the Lord and have a desire to worship the Lord in such a different way that there has to be a planet and a form of the Lord to reciprocate with their desire. So some people, for instance, Ayodhya Loka, some people really, they have a deep taste for worshiping the Lord in this, you could say, this Maryada avatar of Lord Ram, where he's following all of Dharma, and he's so chivalrous and has all of these certain qualities. They're so attracted to this. So the Lord has to have a form and a place for them. If they seek how Krishna acts with a little adharmically, it seems, time to time, they'll be shy. I cannot worship a Lord like this. So the Lord says, no problem. I have it here. Focus on here, me right here. So the Lord has infinite varieties of Vaikunthas which reciprocate to how the devotee wishes to see him. And so on. Here he goes. So, in many other millions of spiritual lokas wherein the personality of God predominates, all the living entities there are liberated souls with spiritual bodies as good as that of the Lord. There is no material contamination. Everything there is spiritual, and therefore there is nothing objectively lamentable. So it's, in this spiritual realm, beyond the modes of nature, which are compared to like a cloud, these lower energies that we're associating with. Like right now, you could see the weather, because Syracuse is so cloudy, the weather is always a bit dreary here. And it's not so good. So, but because the cloud of the material modes of nature, of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas and their mixes, everything is dreary here in this material world. It's just like a constant rainy day, that we're experiencing here. But if we can approach the place beyond the clouds, if you take an airplane, for instance, and you go through the turbulence of the clouds, and then you get above the clouds, then it's sunny, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. Like, wow, I can't believe this is what it is above this. So this is what it's like, actually. When you transcend this material world and get out of this turbulent and dreary, clouds of material energy here, of tamas and rajas, contaminating sattva, then, it's very sunny and there's nothing lamentable there. Vaikuntha itself means without anxiety. There'll be no anxiety. So, yes, he's shaking his booty.
He's dancing.
So, very good. All the souls are liberated, and with spiritual bodies as good as that of the Lord. So you won't have any more bodily problems and things. Everything will be quite wonderful. There is no material contamination. Everything there is spiritual, and therefore there's nothing objectively lamentable. They are full of transcendental bliss and are without birth, death, old age, and disease. And amongst all the above-mentioned Vaikuntha lokas, there is one supreme loka called Goloka Vrindavan. This is where the Lord in his most, like when you go to work, you put on a certain personality. Deepthi and Parth, and you're in the lab, and Devyanshu when you're giving interviews, and Craig, you've had many jobs. When you go to work, you have a certain personality and a persona and a bravado you have to give off. But when you come home and you're really at your most natural state, you can unwind, let that all go, and your real self can kind of shine through. Yes? You've experienced this? And those who associate with you at home, they get a completely different person than, those who associate with you in your professional setting. So the Lord is like that. He has certain settings and personas he, puts out depending on the people he's working with, or you could say the devotees that are worshipping him. Like in front of, in Ayodhya Loka, Lord Ram has to display all of the Maryada, the most dharmic personality, following all the textbook rules and things like that. And the devotees there are very charmed by him, and he's happy to reciprocate with them. But only in Goloka Vrindavan, does Krishna finally kick back. Does the Lord kick back, and he acts in his true nature. But even in Vrindavan, the Lord still puts on persona, and only a very, very elite few of his most confidential servants can experience him in his most intimate and confidential personality. And this is actually what our acharyas are reaching for. These are the gopis, the young cowherd girls of Vrindavan. So our acharyas, we actually pray. This is, I don't know if I should say this for the people listening online, but I doubt they made it this far. So I'll tell just for you. We actually pray. Everything that we're doing, the bhajans we sing, all the confidential implications here is that we want to be associates of these gopis. Meaning we want to be little gopis ourselves, in association with Krishna. This is like the transgender aspirations of our spiritual lineage, We want to be, this is what is actually being prayed for. When we sing the Namo Namaha, many people, they have, they have some debates with, Prabhupada said this, he might be a cowherd boy or something like this. But look what Prabhupada gave, actually. The Gauravashtakam is chanted, Shri Radhika Madhavayor Apara Madhurya Lila Guna Rupa Nam Nam pratikshana swadanavot lo lupasya vande guru shri charanadavindam. How the guru is always relishing and eager to hear about the pastimes in Madhurya Lila, these very sweet and confidential romantic pastimes. But then the next verse says, Nikunja rati keli siddhyai. In the Nikunjas, the very private forest groves, where these confidential pastimes of perfection exist. Ya yali bir yuktir pekshaniya. All of by which the gopis, the Ali Bir, those associates of their Yuktira Pekshaniya make desirable arrangements. Tatrati, they're saying that the guru is Tatrati, he's extremely dakshad, expert in Ativalabhasya, making him very dear there. So Prabhupada is sharing that. But then also, not a lot of people know this, but the Tulsi prayer, when we worship Tulsi, we sing Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha Radha Krishna Seva Pabo E Abhilashi. Having a desire to serve Radha Krishna in these intimate pastimes. This isn't the aspirations of a cowherd boy. This isn't the aspirations of any other ras other than this highest ras that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to reveal. So, any other implications or understandings or different personalities, it's just simply confusion. That because they didn't hear from Prabhupada in this confidential manner, and they made some assumptions that are just not true. But just look, the evidence is there. What did Prabhupada give? Prabhupada is giving this highest thing, so of course he's feeling this, and this is his aspiration as well. Because if you actually look, Bhakti Siddhanta and the Gaudiya Math, they didn't give such a high bhajan for worshipping Tulsi, actually. The worship of Tulsi, they sing Jaya Jaya Radha Krishna, Jaya Radha, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan. And you go through the whole bhajan, and what they're singing about is all the different facets of Vrindavan and its glory. But what Prabhupada had us sing for the Tulsi Puja, that's a very intimate, if you read the words of the Tulsi, it's very intimate, and it's very intimate about, confidential service only in Madhurya Ras, actually. There should be no confusion, actually. Because what Prabhupada gave was something much more intimate than even his spiritual master gave. But, due to, you could say, a lack of understanding about some of the deeper truths of this, of what our acharyas gave, many devotees have speculated many things. But the evidence is right there, actually. So anyway, just so you know what is this highest planet, this Goloka Vrindavan, and what takes place there, and what is the actual aspirations, and what is the mood of our acharyas, what are they really subtly trying to point us to? And what's the Bhagavatam going to point us to? And you're going to find this all as you get to the 10th canto. So you'll know, actually. So anyway, this is where the highest and most confidential type of association that the Lord likes. But it's very rare to even hear about it, and it's very rare to also then develop an aspiration for it. So, but we're just approaching it. We're just looking at it. Prabhupada's not saying anything I revealed more than what Prabhupada wants to reveal here in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. So anyhow, so this is the abode of Lord Sri Krishna and his specific associates. Maharaj Parikshit was destined to achieve this particular loka, and the great rishis assembled there could foresee this. All of them consulted among themselves about the great departure of the great king. And they wanted to see him up to the last moment, because they would no more be able to see such a great devotee of the Lord. When a great devotee of the Lord passes away, there is nothing to be lamented, because the devotee is destined to enter into the kingdom of God. But the sorry plight is that such great devotees leave our sight, and therefore there is every reason to be sorry. As the Lord is rarely to be seen by our present eyes, so also are the great devotees. The great rishis therefore correctly decided to remain on the spot till the last moment. So actually, due to Maharaj Parikshit, his greatness, to sit and to have the resolve that he wanted to go back to the spiritual abode. He's going to drop all material activities. He's fasting to death. And, all the sages, they wanted to be there to accompany because they wanted the association of a great devotee one last time. And Prabhupada is actually saying here that just as the Lord is rarely to be seen by our present eyes, and we should do anything to try to associate with the Lord, when there's a great devotee of the Lord, David, can you somehow pacify him? When there's a great devotee of the Lord as well, we should try to relish and get every bit of association that we can with such a great devotee. This is actually the conclusion of the sages, and this is the conclusion of what we should do as well in our life. We should always try anything to get the highest devotee association that we can. There's nothing else actually more important. The sages will drop everything to do it, and that's what we should do as well. Or we should, design our life in such a way that we can maximize our devotee association. This is the implications here. So the rishis therefore correctly decided to remain on the spot till the last moment. They didn't have any material consideration. Oh, well, my family has this thing. I can't do this. Like when Jesus, he was there and he was preaching and he was doing amazing, and that one fellow, he came to him and he said, I want to follow you, but my father just died. I want to go out and bury. And he said, let the dead bury the dead. If you want eternal life, you come and follow me. But he knew, because if he didn't come right now, all his family members would convince him, oh no, that's not important, and that's exactly what happened actually. So we have to stop making these material considerations. I mean, Divyanshi, you missed this part. Prahlad Maharaj, he described what happens, and the material implication, the material activities that you get involved with, it's worse than the problem that you are having, that you're doing the material activities to solve. So let's say you're poor. And you say, I'm poor, and this is a problem in my life, and I need to get out of poverty. So I know I'll get into this job, and I'll do this, and this to, get out of poverty. And you have some material plan. Prahlad is saying that the material plan that you're making is more dangerous and worse than the problem you're having in the first place of being poor. So we have to... Exactly. The so-called cure is worse than the disease. And Craig gave a great example, like pharmaceutical medicine. The drug itself is worse and causes more diseases than the actual disease it's supposed to cure. So we cannot be implicated in karma. Me and Madhav, we had a wonderful conversation about this last night, how it's imperative that we be engaged in bhakti. Don't get engaged in karma. Because bhakti destroys all karmas. Even though you're engaged in activity, because that activity is simply to please Guru and Krishna, the devotee's Guru and Krishna, by that activity, you're not implicated. You're not getting a worse disease. You're being cured of all disease. And guess what? All of your material problems, they'll be solved anyhow. Any obstacles that are there? Yes, Abhiram. Yeah, he does this. It's not your fault, Tiffany. He's just kind of doing that. So we have to be very vigilant that we evaluate our life and we arrange everything. How can I engage this in bhakti? How can I purify this towards pure bhakti? How can I get rid of any of my implications of karma? I don't want to be involved in this anymore. I want to do bhakti. How do you do this? You surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. How do you do that? You surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord's pure devotee.
My big problem, though, is having enough faith in that.
Yes.
And that it's actually
will
to be,
Well, the way you can...
For as long as I've known about Krishna in this life, I've had ups and downs with that.
Yeah. Well, so the way that I've...
yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, you're still here, you're still trying. The way I've been able to reconcile that because it's everyone, that's an issue for everyone. Well, how do I have full faith that that's really going to work out? If I just drop everything and do bhakti, how can I have faith that, everything's going to, because I'm so used to these other so-called solutions, which Prahlad is saying is more dangerous than. So what you can do is, one, read the Shastras. And you read the Shastras, you see example, the whole Bhagavatam is example of this time and time again, of all different devotees in all different circumstances of life, and how by them practicing bhakti, they were liberated from all their problems, and they had so much of a better situation, and they were supremely happy in that situation.
That's why I mentioned that saying to you. Yeah. Act as if you have faith and you will be given faith.
Mm.
So I kind of...
Yeah, you put yourself in the position.
By reading and doing these different things,
yes,
trying to act as if I have faith, hopefully Krishna will give me faith.
Well, so, and then the next thing I think is even more important than the reading is when you meet an advanced devotee and you just see how, you hear from them, well, how did you get to this point in your life? And you just hear the stories of how Krishna, he took care of the devotee. Like, I give one story from my own life. I told you guys the story I quit. The last job I had, I told you how I quit my job. And Krishna decided, okay, this in the midst of you quitting your job, which put me in a huge material predicament. But I did it because I couldn't take the lack of Krishna consciousness that I was experiencing at the workplace. I just couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, this is horrible. So I did it, and on that very day, a material problem that I was suffering for like a year and a half, a lingering unemployment case that didn't go through, on that day, I got a call 20 minutes after I left the workplace that 20 minutes before I quit, she called me and said that, if you don't call back within an hour, we're closing this case. I'm done with this. We've tried to go back and forth and this isn't resolved. So if I didn't quit on that day, I would have actually had a bigger problem than, I would have lost the opportunity for that thing. So anyway, I quit, and then I called her, and they ended up resolving the dispute, the unemployment dispute, and they gave me more money than the whole salary I would have got for the whole year. It's just something like that for me was very faith building, to just be like, just see. I was not thinking about that at all when I quit. I wasn't thinking, oh, well, I'll get a call later today. I quit expecting to be broke. I quit expecting to, be in a severe predicament materially. But I had faith that, nothing is more important than my Krishna consciousness. Nothing. And so for me, after that, watching how Krishna reciprocated in my life, and now also because we all struggle with faith as we try to advance. Because really, Krishna Prem, or love for Krishna, is just condensed faith. That's really all it is. Faith is the seed of this whole thing. So as we go through this process, now I can think back to times in my own life where, just see how Krishna reciprocated with me here. And it wasn't just there. Every step of the way, Krishna's been reciprocating with us. And if we look back in our life, we'll see how, wow, Krishna did this, Krishna arranged this. Just see what Krishna did here. But if we study the lives of advanced devotees, we really see it as well. We see how Krishna took care of them every step. We see, like I was just in India with so many different advanced devotees. And I watch how these people have practically, none of them have jobs. They all, get to do exactly what they want throughout the year, and Krishna always provides for them, especially these, like for instance, Prem Prayojan has many brahmacharis, and one of the, in order to take the saffron cloth, there's many rules. They have to be an initiated devotee. They have to follow many rules. They have to, be Diksha initiated and so on. But one more additional rule, they're not allowed to work. Not allowed to work in the material world. You want to be a brahmachari, you don't work. So then one might ask, well, how are they going to pay for their plane tickets? How are they going to... In India, they have living expenses. It's not all free to live in India. I spent more in India to live there than I do here. It's just realistic. But actually, even Krishna provided by one of our community members' father actually took a huge expense that I would have had off the table. So I appreciate that. That was Krishna's blessing. I didn't arrange that, but but these brahmacharis, it all works out. They travel all year round. Many of them travel the world with their guru, and somehow or other, Krishna provides every step of the way. They don't work. How? Only by Krishna's mercy can it work out. It's only possible. How can they live like that? I watched how they all live. And I was inspired. Oh, look, just see.
Prabhupada used to say that the birds and the beasts are taken care of, so what's to say why they wouldn't be?
Not just Prabhupada. Jesus, that's what Jesus said. That was one of his main teachings. Just look at the flowers in the field. Look at the sparrows and the birds and the beasts. Yeah. Why will the Lord not take care of you? I'm not saying that, all right, the moral of the story is now you should all quit your jobs. Especially the Indian students, you have more incentive to work these jobs than to quit them, because if you quit these jobs, the government will quit on you in this country, and then you'll have to go back to family life in home, which is a very dangerous place to be. So your job is your ticket to experiencing, learning about bhakti right now, actually. But if you get your job, which maybe Krishna he's withholding certain jobs from you, because everyone's been looking for a job in the room, But Krishna will be withholding the jobs that are going to further implicate you in deeper problems, because he cares about you. So he's going to give you all the right circumstances for you to increase your bhakti. So the intelligent person, what they'll actually do is they'll just try to increase their bhakti, knowing that Krishna will provide all facilities so that I can keep increasing my bhakti. And he knows that you need to stay in this country to increase your bhakti right now. Or maybe you don't. Who knows what Krishna thinks will increase your bhakti. He may have a situation in India, but what you should do is increase your bhakti. Don't act fanatical. Don't say, all right, I'm quitting my job to increase my bhakti. No, because your bhakti, you're all learning bhakti right now. So you should keep maintaining what you can to keep increasing your bhakti, and just see what Krishna does. Me and Madhav, we had a nice conversation about this exact thing. And we both reached the agreement that this is the most important thing. Just be in a position to increase bhakti, and everything else will be taken care of. And you'll see it over and over again in your life. I gave you a small example in my life, but that's not the only example. There's many. We just talked about this earlier this year. I lost because I tried to implicate myself in material activities to work to try to, provide a certain thing for my family. Krishna then gave me a much bigger problem than I had in the first place. So then, when I gave it all up and I said, you know what, let me go to India, let me rejuvenate myself spiritually, let me be fully engaged in bhakti, then Krishna gave a much better opportunity than I could have ever imagined, even if I had hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix that place. But just see. That's another example. It just happened in my life. So you can listen to the devotees in your life and just see how Krishna takes care of them, and you can say, well, if he did that to them, he'll also do for me. He will. I'm not special. And these other devotees...
Well, that's one of the things we were reading there. He doesn't discriminate against the low.
The low and the wretched. No, there's no discrimination. Bhakti is for everyone. This mercy of Lord Chaitanya is for everyone. Yes, thank God, for sure. You are in the most merciful age. Lord Chaitanya, what he's giving he's Namo Mahabhadanyaya. He is the most merciful, munificent. Munificent, it implies mercy and it implies generosity. He's so generous and he's so merciful. Krishna Prema Pradayate. He's giving this highest thing that even for Lord Brahma is very difficult. He's giving this highest thing. He's Krishna himself giving this highest thing, and he's not considering how fallen or lowly you are. And even if he has to have some consideration of it, he'll send his expansion of Nityananda Prabhu, who will have no consideration for how fallen you are. And that's Nityananda Prabhu his expansion is Guru and the Vaishnavas. So even if Krishna has to say, no, I have to draw the line here. This activity is an abominable. The Vaishnavas, they will come and find you in that abominable state, and they'll pick you up. And that's Nityananda Prabhu. So this, Krishna will, you can't even imagine how fortunate you are. So anyway, and it's not just me, and it's not just all these other devotees, it's everybody who takes to this process. Krishna, he promises, Ye yathamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As you worship me, I will worship you. As you worship me, as you surrender unto me, I will worship you in that record. Bhajan, bhajamyaham, he's saying. That's what they say. That's right. He will reciprocate accordingly. And the only ones he can't reciprocate with are the certain high class in Vrindavan where he's actually, I can't go. Normally I go farther than my devotee comes to me. But you've gone so far, I can't go as far as you. And that's only if we can somehow, it can be achieved what the gopis of Vrindavan can achieve. So yes. So, the conclusion today of what is what? What is? Yes. Only worry about this. If you do anything else, you're going to create more problems than are already there. Increase your bhakti, and you will have all solutions, and then everything will be taken care of. Krishna will make sure that you can keep increasing the bhakti, and you'll keep being satisfied. And if your material desire isn't being fulfilled, you should trust. Krishna has a plan for this. There's a reason this isn't working out this way. He has something better for me. You should have faith. How do you have faith? You study the life of devotees who have practiced, and you'll see. Oh, yes. And they'll tell you, yes, Krishna took care of me. I'm so grateful. Like, when I was younger, I wanted Miley Cyrus as a wife. I wanted Miley Cyrus as a wife. I look at Miley Cyrus now and I'm horrified by what I see. But I look at my wife, I'm like, phew, oh my God, thank goodness I got her instead of Miley Cyrus. But I wanted so deeply. I wanted so.
Never understood the attraction to Miley.
Yes,
It was a close race.
Yeah, it wasn't. Thank God it wasn't close. But I was like, I just had this stupid greed. But just see, if the Lord fulfilled your prayers, it would be disaster everywhere. Our prayers are so silly half the time. We don't know what we're praying for.
And he helps us to spite ourselves.
Yeah. So, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So, this is very good. Keep increasing the bhakti. Keep increasing your Sankirtan in your life. And everything will work out so good. So much better. And you will not create worse problems for yourself. That's the worst thing. Don't create worse problems for yourself by engaging in karma. Engage in bhakti. That doesn't mean stop doing your certain activities. Well, I don't want to do all these work. I don't want to do all these applications. No, you need to do these things, especially the Indian students, so that you have facility to practice bhakti. But your considerations when doing these things are, well, if I do this, will I be able to increase my bhakti? Will I be able to have more devotee association? Will I be able to, to be engaged in bhajan and bhakti? That should be your main considerations. If not, then maybe you wait for the next opportunity. What's that?
Varnashram Dharma.
Varnashram Dharma. In what regard?
In the fact that we're all born with a propensity, a body type. We should at least do our duty, but do it with the idea of unattachment
Yes.
and going after Krishna.
So even it's above Varnashram Dharma, because the Varnashram Dharma is societal, basic religious duty.
But at least that.
Yeah, at least that. But everyone here is even beyond Varnashram Dharma.
Even that hardly exists.
Yeah, it's very difficult in Kali Yuga. But you do the devotee who's engaged in bhakti, they will externally do their dharma. But internally, they have this greed and this desire for bhakti. So you should develop this. And there may be times where it's even proper to neglect your Varnashram Dharma. It is possible. There's many times, actually, where Krishna will test you. Even me, many times to practice my Dharma properly, I have to chant Gayatris at very specific, strict times of the day. But in the midst of preaching and doing programs and things, I cannot do it. I cannot stop the middle of the program. Oh, it's Gayatri time. Everyone shut up for 6, 7, 8 minutes and then do my Gayatri. So I have to neglect my Dharma. Why? There's a higher Dharma actually. Bhagavat Dharma, the Lord wants me to work for the benefit. So you see our acharyas, the time, place, and circumstances where Varnashram Dharma can be neglected. Even like many of you have very strong relationships with your parents or strong worship practices in relation to worshipping the demigods, cultural, traditional things. In certain circumstances, if they can increase, if your bhakti can be increased by doing them, then do them. But otherwise, if it's hampering your bhakti or it's getting in the way of your bhakti practices, it's useless. Give it up. So this is where the devotee discriminates. Dharma is only useful when it's progressive towards increasing one's bhakti, because this is the Bhagavat Dharma. This is the highest Dharma. Otherwise, Dharma should be neglected actually. Krishna says what? Sarva Dharman what? Parityaja. Abandon all Dharma. Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. And he says Vraja. He could have used everything for take shelter, but he used the word Vraja. Why? Because he's talking about where you should really take shelter in. And in Vraj, so much A-dharma they're practicing. So much, all the gopis and Krishna, there's so much A-dharma they're doing. But, not that we should be A-dharmic. No, externally we should always, and even Krishna and Vraj, in the gopis and Vraj, externally they're very dharmic. By everyone else's estimations, only the select few know that, oh yeah, you're actually doing A-dharmic things.
Even in the couples, Prabhupada developed, he would appoint certain people to like guard the deities or to cook or other duties based on their dharma, dharma type.
Well, before Krishna gives the final instruction in the Bhagavad Gita, he gives so many chapters on following one's dharma, because if you don't follow Varnashram Dharma in the beginning, you won't progress to the realization of even desiring pure bhakti. So it can't be done without first having a basic level of humanity.
Your dharma that's not really yours.
Yes.
It's disastrous.
Yes, and Krishna says that it's worse to do somebody else's dharma perfectly than your own imperfectly. So we have to understand. But we are all given the opportunity here to practice bhakti, and we can, we don't want to just abandon our dharma, but we can, when there are certain unfavorable situations due to dharma, and bhakti will be increased if we Actually, I because we have too many relatives online, I will tell you guys after an example. Yes, I'll tell you guys after an example I have, but I'll share an example. So anyhow, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam.